Welcome back to the shop. All right, we're back on the Trans Am again after about a 35-day hiatus, I think, on this thing. I've just been super busy at work, working 12-hour days, shifts, 5-6 days a week, and it's been just no time for this. But we're back on it now, and in this video, we're going to be priming the oil system on this LS3 crate motor from GM, and we're going to use the instructions that came with the engine. And I'm going to read them to you. We're going to do this procedure as GM wants us to, because this thing has warranty on it. So we're going to do it exactly by the book on how they say to do it. And I know there's other ways to prime these systems. You can use a pressurized tank with oil in it and go in through the plug inside and down by the oil pump and shoot oil in through that way. That's a great way to do it. I was going to do it that way, but I decided I'm going to do it exactly how they do it, or how GM wants you to do it. This engine is a GM crate engine, so that's how we're going to do it. So, okay, so the engine should be primed with oil before starting. Install an oil pressure gauge in the existing oil pressure sensor location at the upper rear of the engine may be used. Okay, so we're going to install, which I've already done, an oil gauge, manual oil pressure gauge in the port where the sensor goes. So I pull the sensor out. That's my sensor socket. Sensor's in there. Pull that out, install my gauge. I did have to buy I don't know if you can see it, but right here, this my case, where my gauge comes in, it has a bunch of different adapters. Well, it did not have an adapter that would fit the LS engine, so I went and bought. I got on Amazon, and I just did a search for an LS oil filter adapter, or oil pressure gauge adapter, excuse me, or oil sensor adapter for a gauge, for a manual gauge, and that's what I bought. It was cheap, like $10 or something, I think. So I bought one of those so I could hook my gauge to it. Okay, so we've got the gauge installed. It says remove power from the engine control module. It says generally check that you have good conditions, blah, blah, blah. Note disconnecting only the ignition or fuel injection system is not recommended. They want you to make sure the ignition and the fuel system is totally disabled. I haven't put power to the PCM yet. That's one of the last few things I've got to wire. And I do have the fuel pump wired up. There's never been a drop of fuel in this brand new gas tank. So even if it were to have power, there's no fuel in it, and there's never been any fuel in it, so it can't fire. So the PCM's not plugged up, so we don't have to worry about anything. It's not going to even try to fire the fuel pump because the PCM's disabled. It doesn't have any power to it. So we do have power to the starter. I've got a charger on the battery right now. It was at like 12.44 volts when I checked it, but I was like, I'd like to have a little more than that, so we're going to put that in. So it wants you to remove all 8 spark plugs, which I've done, had them in, pulled them back out, so the compression will be free. It won't build up compression and try to put a load on the starter. It'll allow the engine to spin over faster and bring up oil pressure. It wants you to spin the motor over for 10 seconds and watch your gauge, see if oil pressure comes up on your gauge. If it doesn't come up after 10 seconds, it tells you to stop, wait 30 seconds at least, and then try again, and keep repeating that process until you have oil pressure in your gauge. If you don't get oil pressure in your gauge, you're in trouble. So we've got oil in the motor. We've got our gauge hooked up, starter's hooked up, wired up, battery's on the charger. So after a few minutes of that charging, we're going to spin this over. And just listen for any unusual noises and stuff like that. And, oh, that's after firing out. So, all right, so we're going to get the oil system primed. Like I said, there is other ways to do it, but I wanted to do it by the book just in case there was any questioning about the procedure. And I know there's a million videos out there on how to prime an LS engine. The old small block Chevys were super easy. In big blocks, you just, in Fords, whatever, anything that had a distributor, you pull the distributor out and you stick a drive down in it that replaces the distributor, and it spins the oil pump. You use a drill, watch your oil pressure gauge come up, you're good to go. You know you got oil through it. When you do it the manual, or do it the other way without using the starter, you can use like a little compressed tank with oil. So you put oil in it and pump it up with air, or some of them you can use old bug sprayer, pump it up and put the hose in the little port in the side down here, and you can shove the oil in that way. But if you do that, you have to rotate the engine over to get oil all through, because the cam's got to move to let oil through, and the lifters have got to go up and down to make it go throughout the whole system. It'll just oil like part of the system. So if you're doing it that way, you got to make sure you're turning the engine over by hand or with a starter, a little bit at a time while you're manually shoving that oil in. So I'm just going to do it like they said, and use a starter, using the starter to do everything with the compression freed up, and it should be good to go. So we're going to get going on that. All right, got my son Caleb in the car. He's going to spin the motor over for us while we watch the gauge, and we're going to roll it over for 10 seconds. We're going to count and everything. All right, so, all right, ready, Caleb? Go. 1, 1,000. Go ahead. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000. Kill it. Nothing yet. So we're going to wait. We're going to wait. It says 30 seconds. We're going to wait a couple minutes and then try again. Round 2. Go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, and 10. Kill it. It's 2 rounds. Hopefully that stuff's come up soon. Round 3. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep going. You got pressure. It's 30. All right. That's good. Yep. All right, so we got 30 pounds pressure, a little over 30 pounds of pressure with it free spinning like that. It was 3 10-second tries. About halfway through the third try, it started coming up. Normally when I put an engine in one of these LS motors or something, I just put it in and I fired up. Put oil and fluids in it, hook everything up. I hit the key and just fired up, and it comes up within 10 seconds usually of running, 10, 15, 20 seconds. I got oil pressure on the gauge on the dash. That's how I normally do it. I've been doing this a long time. Criticize me in the comments all you want, I don't care. But we did it like the book wanted us to do it. We got oil pressure, we're good to go. I am gonna leave my gauge on there for when we do fire this up and get it running. So in my next situation, I don't know if I'm gonna make a video of these next few small baby steps. I wanna put some power to the PCM. I'm gonna put some gas in the tank, make sure I don't have any fuel leaks, and make sure we've got spark, and then I think that's all we have to do to fire it up. Oh, I still have to finish wiring up the controller for the transmission. All right, so we got to wire up it's a usshift.com Quick 2 Gen 2 graphical display. This is the little computer that's going to run our transmission for the 4L80E. I've got the harness ran for the most part. I've got to just plug it up inside and figure out where I'm going to put this thing inside the car, and I think run a hot in the ground to it somewhere. I can't remember. I've got to look at the instructions again. I've never played with one of these before. I've done tons of 4L80 stuff with factory cars, but I've never put a 4L80 in a car that it didn't belong in. Or LS. This is my first LS swap, maybe my last. And a 4L80. It's been a lot of work for myself, but in my free time. You know, it's just been a big side project, bigger than I should have took on here without a team. You got a bunch of people, big job, big project like this car is not too terrible. It's still a big job, but doing it by yourself when in free time is difficult. It's a big job. I'm not gonna lie to you, at least for me, and it may not be for you, but it is for me. We redid a lot of stuff on this car. Total fuel system, including the tank, vintage air kit, proper headers, proper engine mounts, figuring all that stuff out. We're trying to make this original radiator work. Original style radiator. It is aftermarket, large, I think it's a 4-core or something, aluminum radiator, B-Cool or something, I can't remember who did it. Got the cooling fan hooked up, you know, just did the whole bracketry set up for the serpentine belt, for the air conditioning and all that stuff. Power steering, converted to Hydro Boost, which was a challenge because we kept getting wrong stuff during COVID and shipping stuff back and waiting 6-8 months to get the right stuff sent back. Still don't even know if the hood's going to clear this thing. The way this master cylinder is sitting, and I've got a valve that adapts down to the stock brake line that keeps leaking on me. I've been fighting with it. I've got some thread paste on it, and that's not working. So I've got to take that all back apart for like the 4th time. Slowed the leak down, and I thought I had it fixed, but I just put my hand on it, and it's a little wet. It was dripping before out of it, no matter how tight you got it. Anyway, I'm not going to make videos of that. That's just part of the troubles, the headaches, me pounding my head against the wall on little dumb stuff. It takes forever sometimes. We had problems with hoses when we were making the PTFE hoses, having wrong materials, and half the kit was good, half the kit was junk. Having to buy other parts. Still got to, on this, I'll still have to also hook up the PVC deal, PCV, excuse me. We're going to do an aftermarket breather catch can deal. We'll figure out where I'm going to put this, probably on the firewall over there. So I'll have a hose from each valve cover over to this, something like that. Still figuring out how I'm going to set that up. Yeah, it's been a fun one. It's coming close to an end. I can't wait to kiss this one goodbye. See you in the next one. Peace.